Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our moderator, Dr. Ahmed Al-Aidan, co-chairman of the Technical Committee. And our distinguished panelist, Saudi Aramco's Senior Vice President of Engineering and Project Management, Mr. Abdullatif Al-Othman. Saudi Aramco's General Manager of Training and Development, Ms. Huda Al-Ghosn. The Secretary General of the Al-Walid bin Talal Foundation, Engineer Nadia Bakhurji.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the opening ceremony of the 2012 Young Professional Technical Symposium. As you heard on the audio, my name is Ahmed Al-Aidan, and I'm extremely privileged at the request to moderate this panel discussion. Today, our distinguished panelists will present their views on the theme of the symposium, Young Talents, the Impetus of Transformation. Each panelist will talk to us for about 10 to 15 minutes. Then we will open the floor for discussion. So now, please allow me to introduce our distinguished panelists and give you a brief bio. Sitting immediately to my left is Mr. Abdullatif Al-Othman from Saudi Aramco. And he was named Senior Vice President, Engineering and Project Management of Saudi Aramco in 2011. The same year, he was also appointed to serve simultaneously as board chairman of the Sadara Chemical Company, a joint venture between Saudi Aramco and the Dow Chemical Company. From 2003 to 2011, he served as a senior vice president of finance, where he was instrumental in streamlining key processes and significantly enhancing advisory and performance management capabilities. During the previous decade, Mr. Al-Othman served as a Vice President, Saudi Aramco Affairs, and as a manager of different departments, including crude oil sales and marketing, contract review and cost compliance and finance, business analysis, and long-range planning. Seated next to Mr. Al-Othman is our second speaker, Ms. Huda Al-Ghosn. She is the General Manager of the Training and Development Organization at Saudi Aramco. And as the head of Human Resources Development, she is responsible for the design and delivery of corporate education, training, and development programs for all segments of workforce, covering industrial, administrative, professional, and leadership positions. Huda joined the company in 1981 and held various positions in human resources and support organizations, including healthcare services, facilities planning, finance, community services, industrial relations planning staff, and human resources policy and planning department. And our third panelist is a professional from a different sector. She is engineer Nadia Bakhurji. Nadia is the Secretary General of Walid bin Talal Foundation, and at this capacity, she spearheads initiatives to implement the philanthropic vision of His Royal Highness Prince Walid bin Talal and the Vice Chairwoman, Her Highness Prince Amir Al-Tawil. In 2007, she established NBA, Nadia Bakhurji Architectural and Interior Design Consultants in Riyadh, one of the first female-owned architectural firms in Saudi Arabia. Nadia has a passion and an active contribution to advance civil society. Please join me in welcoming our distinguished guests. Ladies and gentlemen, please be reminded that we encourage your participation. So after the talks that we receive from our distinguished panelists, write your questions on the cards on the table, and my colleagues from the organizing committee will collect them and pass them on to me. Without further ado, I'll turn the mic to our Senior Vice President, Mr. Abdullatif Al-Othman.
Thank you, Ahmed, and thanks to Dr. Abdul Wahab and all your colleagues for organizing such an outstanding forum. Organizing any event by itself requires a lot of effort, let alone an international event that I understand you have about representation from 11 countries and have been able to garner about 120 technical papers. The turnout is indeed quite impressive. And whenever I have the privilege to address a young and enthusiastic young professionals like this one, I am reminded by a piece of wisdom that was said by Mr. Alan Kay 40 years ago. He is the one who developed the technology that enabled Windows, laptop, and the tablets that we enjoy today. He said, if you want to know the future, invent it. And indeed, your theme for this symposium is telling about the role that the young generation can play in shaping their future. I'm going to use some talking points here to put the program theme in the context of Saudi Aramco journey. This is the motto I just shared with you is a worthy motto for each one of you to embrace. It's a good summation of the underlying Saudi Aramco Accelerated Transformation Program. We are a very large company, considered highly successful and not by any means in a crisis. But nevertheless, we have taken the initiative now, when the going is good, to reinvent ourselves. Saudi Aramco is undergoing a massive generational challenge. Within 5 years, we estimate that 60% of our employees will be under the age of 30. Therefore, young generation, the young professionals, as well as other young skilled workers are a major part of both the cause and the effect of this accelerated transformation program. The outcome of the transformation will be for the young generation, and much the leadership to bring to its fulfillment will have to be by your generation. I am not surprised if the future CEO of Saudi Aramco is probably sitting amongst you today. By 2020, Saudi Aramco will build on our traditional strengths in the oil operation and will bring about more competitive downstream operations such as chemical, power generation of petroleum, power generation, technologies, and renewables. We'll also call upon the rising generation of petroleum engineers to discover billions of barrels of reserves and to yield us great achievements in unconventional oil and gas, and to increase our recovery by more than 70%. This effort will change us within less than a decade from an oil and gas company to a fully integrated energy and chemical company. Known as a predominantly Saudi Arabian company today, we will become a global player in all its terms. Multiplying the challenge is accelerating change in communication and operating environment in which we live and work. Social media technologies, platforms, and practices enable creation of virtual communities of practice or communities with other, perhaps purely social purposes. The Accelerate Transformation Program already has changed the way our corporate management operates. For one day each month, the CEO and his management team convene from dawn to dusk, if not more, not to discuss operational issues, but to focus on where we want to take the company. In addition to being a member of the Strategy Council, for one topic, I need to trade places and also report to the council. I chair one of the Accelerated Transformation Initiatives, themes the Technology Strategy Study. We are working to review and update the company technology and innovation function. Specific attention is given to focus the company's research portfolio, enrich the talent pool in the way we attract and retain talent, look at enriching their technical career paths, problem-solving approaches and business models to create a vibrant R&D environment is being considered, while enhancing the effectiveness of the organizational culture and our domestic and international partnerships. The strategy will position the company to make a quantum leap in the R&D and technology performance, the one that it deserves. We're placing special emphasis on capability building and acquiring and developing talent. Information technology is expected to play a much broader role in this strategy. We expect IT to play a prominent role in the future of upstream, downstream, and chemical technologies, and therefore Saudi Aramco's IT competencies will be better leveraged in support of technology development and enhancements. We're working to put Saudi Aramco on the path to becoming a preeminent creator of innovative technologies. By 2020, whether compared to leading oil companies or non-oil R&D leaders, we aim to turn Saudi Aramco into the industry's epicenter for cutting-edge technologies. A key priority is the creation of high knowledge-based industries, leading to major growth and high wage employment. The technologies created by Saudi Aramco will not only assist the company, but also spawn new industries in the kingdom, helping to diversify the economy and specifically expand the job base. Driving the emergence of this knowledge-based economy in the kingdom demands high-quality education. The technology initiative will support research at academic institutions in the kingdom to help make the global centers of excellence in learning and innovation that will create new industries in the kingdom. Besides supporting and advancing the existing industrial base, quality education, technological prowess, and innovation are the foundation of a knowledge-based economy, areas in which the needs of the company and the kingdom are aligned. Some of the technologies we are pursuing include high advanced modeling for massive fields, cutting-edge subsurface imaging, advanced drilling systems, enhanced oil recovery, tight gas technologies, advanced fuel formulations, carbon management with special emphasis on mobile applications, oil to chemical research, as well as environmental and water treatment technologies. Our employees will find themselves surrounded by an exciting culture of innovation, and importantly, they will have the chance to see their ideas turned into reality and propelled across the globe. Within the next 5 years, your generation will be the largest demographic group at Saudi Aramco and most other businesses in our region. The company also will be well along its way towards becoming an integrated global leader in the chemical industry and a bigger player in technology development. To be ready for these and other tectonic shifts, we are introducing a whole new technology strategy, and many of you will be at the center of it. It is my dream to see that the future that you will shape for you, you will take part in it and help invent it. And please invent it safely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Al-Othman, on this insightful remarks, especially on the transformation and the role of young professionals to make that dream come true. And now we'll hear from Ms. Huda Al-Ghassan. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Abdul Wahab. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to speak at this panel with this distinguished guest, and it gives me a great pleasure to participate in this, what I consider a prestigious symposium. The theme of the symposium cannot be more appropriate or more timely, considering the changes that not only our company is going through, but also the industry and the whole country. And we all know that young professionals and young talent will have a crucial role in making sure that the changes that are taking place see success in the long term. Speaking about young professionals, last week I was in a meeting with business partners discussing programs and initiatives that we have to develop professionals. And one of the attendees, a gentleman from North America, looked at me and asked a question. He basically said, Huda, why are you in Saudi Aramco putting so much emphasis and issues about young talent and the young generation? Don't you think that you are inflating their ego? Don't you think that you are making them arrogant, in their own ways and in their own profession? What is so special about this generation? He said that over time, we had the baby boomers, we had Generation X, Generation Y, and next Generation Z, and this is a fact of life. This is the life cycle. So what is so special about this generation? And I gave him 3 reasons, and I would like to share these reasons with you. And these are the reasons for making this generation unlike any other generation in the past. The first reason is that we all know that young professionals now are entering the industry at a time of dramatic change in the business environment and the business model. We have seen increased complexity and volatility, dramatic fluctuations in the energy industry, and this is all happening at a time when we operate in a climate of unpredictable geopolitics, delicate safety and energy and environmental issues, sophisticated technology, high knowledge intensity. All of these changes are taking place at a time of a change in the crew of the oil industry. So basically, we have the old guards leaving and new talent coming in, and this is creating a huge gap in knowledge. Of course, we know that the laws of physics and the laws of mathematics are unlikely to change anytime soon, but we know that the pace of technological changes is accelerating at a dizzying and exponential rate. With this environment, the old methods, the old mindsets, the old tools, the old habits becomes inappropriate to support any change or any transformation in the business. So this is the first reason, the complexity in the energy industry and in the business environment. The second reason is Saudi Aramco's accelerated transformation program. And this program is unlike any program that we had in the past. And this is simply because it includes a very important national element that is a big motivator to everybody. We see young talent now very excited, inspired, energized by the chance to contribute to the progress of the transformation initiatives. And the next decade or 2 of their careers, they have the opportunity to play a crucial role in a program that has a bold vision, huge ambitions, and a promise not only to turn this company into a leading energy and chemical enterprise, but also to make this country a significant player in technology, in R&D, renewable energy, and in the knowledge economy, and make it a meaningful participant in the most vital industry in the world economy. This national element of ATP is going to touch on everybody's life. And it is going to improve the quality of our lives. And it has the promise to preserve our lifestyle, our modern lifestyle, for many generations to come. The second reason, so this is the second reason. Now, the third reason is the most obvious one, which is the shift in the population demographic with young people becoming the majority of the population. And as Mr. Al-Othman said, they will be the majority of our workforce in the next few years. Now, young talents, they join the workplace with their own aspirations, with their own dreams, with their own expectations and intellectual curiosity. And we as leaders, we have the responsibility to guide them, motivate them, engage them, mentor them, coach them, and help them unlock their potential in order to support the transformation initiatives and see it through long after we're all gone. After all, the transformation is about unlocking the potential of people, the company, and the whole country. Now, with this environment, this complex and challenging environment, it is very clear that there is a burning need for a new leadership framework, a leadership framework that will enable holistic and timely decisions and decisions that can address sudden events. So looking into the future, we will not only need professionals and leaders with strong technical capability, but we also need leaders and professionals who can adapt to change and who can operate in a complex, multidisciplinary, and multicultural environment. So what does this all mean to young talent? Basically, it means that if they want to succeed in this environment, then they should have an ability, they should build an ability to adapt to any changes, sudden changes, and they should possess an enthusiasm also for continuous and fundamental learning and transformation from within. And as Charles Darwin once said, that it is not the strongest of species that will survive, nor the most intelligent, but the most adaptive to change. So my advice to young professionals to step out of their comfort zone, to step out of the comfort of their own disciplines and not to perceive themselves in their narrow specialist. They need to perceive themselves as strategists and as leaders. And they need to have the ability to connect their own disciplines and their own jobs with the surrounding environment. And this, in this era of information overload, it is very important that they build the capability and the capacity for pattern recognition and for peripheral vision, so they can connect the dots and they can see the big picture. Understanding of their own professions and how it impacts the world of economic and finance is very important. Also, building business acumen is going to be crucial. They need also to possess understanding of commercial consideration. They need to build understanding of public policy and public opinion. And they need to connect with the stakeholders that they serve and the communities that they operate in. And in summary, basically, they need to perceive themselves as strategists and leaders in the most expansive of sense. In simple words, they need to be totally engaged and at all fronts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Al-Othman. Now we'll turn it to Engineer Nadia Bakharji.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure and honor to be here today. I was so excited about talking to you today that I didn't get much sleep last night, thinking about what I was going to speak about. Huda here, she took the words right out of my mouth. And can I stand up? Yes? Okay. First of all, I'd like all the ladies to raise their hands. So how many are we here? About 20, 30%? 20%? Less? Okay. What I want to talk about, and I know I have 23 years of experience to compress in about 15 minutes, so bear with me. I've been asked to deliver an inspirational speech, and to be honest with you, I think I'm the one who's going to leave here inspired after meeting all of you. It's been a long journey to finally one day stand here on this stage in front of you. And you may well ask, how did I go from architecture, interior architecture, serving the public service and engineering sector with the Council of Engineers, and finally becoming the Secretary General of Prince Al-Walid bin Talal Foundation? Well, it's quite a story, but along this story there are a lot of lessons to be told. The lessons that I learned that made me tough and made me cross over into a sector where I feel I can make the most change. As I graduated in 1989 from King Faisal University, I realized the first lesson I learned was that I couldn't find a job because I was a woman and because the field of interior architecture was relatively not very well known. So I set up my own business at home and I started working from there. It wasn't long before people knew me and I had enough work to expand my business to the diplomatic quarter and have a small office. By '96, I'd come to the attention of His Royal Highness Prince Al-Walid, and I met him to present a project to him. And he, in that first meeting, asked me if I'd like to be a partner. And I was completely taken aback, and I said, yes, why not? That's one thing about taking advantage of opportunities that come your way and having the confidence to believe in yourself. By the way, just getting to that meeting was a journey in itself. After we became partners, we had 5 years where there was a lot of exposure to interesting projects, as you may be well aware of the scope of work that was going on in the mid to late 90s and early thousands in Riyadh. A lot of development, and again, there's a lot of development now. During the course of the last 2 decades, we have had peaks where the business has gone up, the business has gone down, and the first businesses to suffer, I believe, are the business of interior design and architecture. So I had a lot of challenges ahead of me, economically, to establish my name, and also to be able to compete with the foreign competition. Now, the 5-year partnership was great because it gave me a lot of experience on big projects that I probably wouldn't have had such access to. After that, to be honest, I was in a kind of a quagmire because I had taken on board a very big project around 98, 99, 2000, which was a government project. It was my first government project, and we were consultants, and then we were asked to execute the job as a contractor. And of course, one of the things that you have to know, women weren't allowed in the early 90s to be licensed as engineers or architects. That came later in 2007. Now, I was practicing my work under a commercial and contracting CR, which was actually, in a way, advantageous because it meant I could get into commercial work and it meant I could get into contracting. And I was doing some light contracting until I got this government job. And I thought I could really handle this because at that point we had a good setup. We were about 56 staff. My office was at its peak. I had engineers in the field, about 13 experienced engineers in the field. We had about 30% female staff. We were training a lot of people. And I had a lot of confidence that we could do this project. I didn't foresee the pitfalls, the bureaucracy, needing to have certain connections. As a woman, you can't, what's the word? You can't connect with the male society the way that men do, the way they lobby together. So I found that I was coming up against invisible walls every time. And sometimes these pitfalls were designed, I think, deliberately to trip me up so that I wouldn't succeed, because my success meant the success of many women after me. And I have to say, on that point, that during that decade, quite a few universities opened interior design and architecture for women. So it was the fact that there was a high exposure of a few ladies in the field that encouraged the academic sector to say, well, there is a chance and an opportunity for women to work in this sector. And I'll come back to that point. So anyway, by 2002, my business was suffering from this project, which was not, it turned out to be very financially distressful. And by 2001, anyway, my partnership with His Royal Highness came to an end. So it was time to really rethink about my business model and re-strategize. Now, sometimes when you hit rock bottom, that's when you really look deeply at your own dream. Because I had a dream, and that dream was driving me dynamically. I was working from 8 in the morning until 1 in the morning. I didn't watch television for 5 years when I first established my business. I worked so hard. Now, it was kind of a shock to suddenly find myself, I couldn't afford to pay my staff, so I had to let them all go. I went back to basics. By 2003, I'd closed down my office in the diplomatic quarter, let go of my 56 staff, except for one, a draftsman, AutoCAD. By the way, I introduced AutoCAD into the office around 96 and trained everybody. That was one of the things that we believed in. You had to improve and train and improve your prospects. So one of my guys who had been with me for many years, one of the loyal staff, said, okay, I want to stay with you. And I set up a small studio at home. Again, that's how I started in 89, by the way. And I sat there, just me and Victor, looking at him thinking, okay, so what do we do now? And thank goodness, I wasn't back to square one, because at this point, I still had I had my reputation, I had my goodwill, people knew me, and people were calling me to give me projects, so I knew I could continue. So gradually, I rebuilt my business from 2003. I thought it was a good time to consider having another baby, since the business was not so. So I decided to get married again, and I had a little boy who's now 7 years old. So that was the good thing. I always say that never look at a negative situation as if it's going to be a disaster. Always look at the positive side. There's always a positive side to every situation that maybe it may seem like it's a change that you don't need or you don't, but if you look at it from the other perspective and the other opportunities that it could open for you, you'll find that it's actually a good thing for you. So I capitalized on the downtime, I call it the downtime, to have a little boy and also rethink my business strategy and think about serving in the public sector. Now, why did I go into the municipal elections in 2004? Because I wanted to make a difference, because I realized that if I don't change the laws and the policies and legislation that are actually fighting me and keeping me down in my business, then I'm never going to succeed. So I decided to go through a different channel. It's called navigating your way through the system. Okay, so in 2004, I tried to run for the municipal elections, and that was actually met with a great deal of a positive result, but the problem was that the powers that be said, no, it's not time for women, so they delayed it to 2009. But the interesting experience was that it opened a whole new door for me, and that was to think about serving in the civil society and seeing how I can actually make a difference. So when the opportunity came in 2005, end of 2005, 2006, to run for the Council of Engineers, I grabbed it and I went for that. And alhamdulillah, I won the election, and I sat on I did my first term from 2006 to 2009. And then again, I ran for elections in 2009, and I think we just finished yesterday. We handed over to the new board. So I've served 2 terms, that's 6 years with the council. Now, during the first term, the first thing I did was say to them, well, you've accepted me as a board member. You have to also understand that we, as women, deserve the license, just as you. And they said, of course, that goes without saying. So we worked on that. And 2007, women could apply for their licenses. I managed to get a consulting license to practice architecture and interior design. and therefore I established NBA. That was in 2007. And so Rewalk of the Kingdom, my original company, remained as a contracting commercial CR, and I started practicing architecture and interior design through my new licensed consultancy. And the council itself learnt me a lot of things, how men lobby. And being the only woman on the board was a challenge in itself. Trying to get things done, you meet with a lot of resistance. I know in Aramco it's slightly different, and that's why I'm excited to be here today, because I feel I'm addressing a audience that is a lot more adaptive to the women in the working environment. So, inshallah, one day we'll see a female CEO. Am I up? Have my time finished? Yes? All right. So, inshallah, one day we'll see a female CEO. Am I up? Have my time finished? Yes? All right. I'll close very quickly. I'm sorry, guys. As I said, there's a lot to talk about. What I want to say, and it's very important before I close, one of the life lessons that I learned and why I crossed over to Prince Al Walid Foundation is to work on a special initiative, two actually, from education to employment and fairness. We need to stop discriminating against Saudis by Saudis. If we're going to advance and do all the things that Huda said and Abdullatif said, we need to be able to prepare these young people that are coming into the workforce, but not disadvantage them right from the start. A lot of them are demoralized because they say, well, we don't have the same opportunities, there's too much competition. Our government doesn't encourage us or support us. Aramco should take the lead in this. I'm going to suggest that they pay their staff equal pay, Saudis and Westerners, because I know that's an issue, and it's an issue everywhere. I know you might not invite me back again after saying that, but honestly, I've suffered with this all my life. It was one of the reasons I lost my business the first time round. Discrimination against me because I was a Saudi and not a Westerner. I had to bring Western partners in 2011 and 12 to get qualified for certain projects, even though I was qualified to do them myself. So this is something integral in our culture. If we don't change these things, we're not going to change anything, okay? So, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Engineer Nadia. May I say you connected with the audience. Well, let's thank all of our distinguished panelists, and we'll open this up for questions. And actually, the questions will be written on the cards, if I may remind you again. And I've already received a couple between the talks. And the first one will go to Ms. Huda Al-Ghusn. And the question is, what is your vision for mentoring programs for young professionals in Saudi Aramco, given that many departments and business lines do not have formal, structured mentoring programs?
For the question, the way I look at it, mentoring programs are already there for technical jobs and technical positions. And they are needed because the newcomers, they need to understand exactly what matters in the business, and also to pay attention to critical skills that are needed in that position. Not all jobs, they need mentors, but all newcomers need coaches. And coaches are different than mentors. Your coach does not have to be part of the business and does not have to be related or working in your area. A coach could be a friend, could be a family member, could be a person you respect in the industry, and they are needed basically to build and enhance the soft skills that are required for anybody to progress and become, especially if they have aspirations to be leaders. Now in the company we do have, like I said earlier, formal mentorship programs in technical area and in areas where we are going to suffer the most of lost knowledge because of the aging workforce. And these programs, the mentorship approach takes the form of what we call a knowledge transfer. Knowledge transfer is a structured and formal and systematic way of transferring knowledge from senior workers to the newcomers. And it involves also having a new maybe name that hasn't been used much in the industry, involve putting together knowledge transfer specialists, or what we call them GETI specialists, in each and every organization. And those knowledge specialists, they will be able to transfer not only the knowledge, but the skills also and the competencies that are needed for the newcomers to do their job and perform with success. So I hope this answers the question.
Yeah, I think it does. Thank you, Mr. Dhahran. The second question actually will come from me. I have a burning question. Maybe it's the scientist in me. Remember, Mr. Al-Othman touched on the technologies that the company is pursuing to widen our portfolio, achieve our long-term target. And you mentioned tight gas technology. And I know that we are paying a lot of attention to unconventional gas. So how about shale oil? Are we paying any attention to that? And do you see it worth looking into in terms of research at this point?
As you know, the kingdom is endowed with a lot of resources, both conventional and unconventional. Your research and your exploration needs to be driven by your business strategy. While we have quite abundance of conventional oil, doesn't mean that you don't go and experiment and research on shale oil. But you wouldn't put the largest amount of your R&D resources or exploratory resources on that. You would direct it on the gas which you would like to help address the energy demand of the kingdom. So yes, you would, but you wouldn't make all your bets on it.
Thank you very much. Well, I'll go back to the questions from the audience. And the next question is for Engineer Nadia. Now, you're from a different sector. You touched with the government, you worked in a private company, and now you are in a national oil company. And this national company is going through a major transformation. So how do you see that different if you transform a governmental entity compared to a private company of some sort?
I think, so you're talking about the foundation, or you're talking about Kingdom Holding?
Well, in general, if you compare a governmental transformation to a private company transformation, how do they compare?
Well, I think there's major comparisons, because with the governmental entities, you've got systems that have been in place for quite some time. You've got bureaucracy. And I think in private sector, companies can be a lot more dynamic and a lot more daring, especially when the leadership is not too broad. For example, now where I am with the Kingdom Foundation, I just started, by the way, in January, and I have been asked to restructure, reorganize, and create new strategies. That's the reason His Royal Highness Prince Al-Walid brought me on board. He's been following my career for the past 20 years, and he said to me when he asked me in for the interview, and that was the first interview I'd done for any job, by the way. He said, Nadia, you've been plugging away for the past 10 years. I've watched you with not much resources trying to change Saudi Arabia, especially for women and empowering women. But now I'm going to give you the opportunity with the resources, but I need you to reassess the foundation and really reorganize it, reshuffle it, and he's given me the carte blanche to do that. Now, how does that affect his entity, where we're looking at the possible separation of the public identity of the foundation so that it's a lot more independent, and because of all the global philanthropic work that we do. But coming back to your question, I think it's very important that the government sector try and reevaluate the way they think towards the staff, towards their strategies, and work hand in hand with the private sector. Because, for example, I had an initiative I wanted to put forward to Aramco, because I believe Aramco have a lot to teach the private sector and the government sector. Because here you have a code of excellence and professionality, and it's amazing that you get what you do done, and then outside of Aramco gates it's completely different. This is, to me, always fascinates my mind. So if you can do it within an area which is it's not small, surely this is something that can be taught on a broad, massive scale in Saudi Arabia in terms of best practices, in terms of professional attitudes. And I would hope that I see Aramco taking a lead in this, in encouraging entrepreneurship. You know, it's very important if we're going to succeed in creating a very strong, vibrant youth coming up and leaders for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadia. I don't know, Mr. Othman, do you want to comment on this? Because I remember in the ATP, there is an initiative that touches on the role of Aramco in the society.
Thank you, Nadia, for being very direct about Aramco's role in the kingdom development. And as a matter of fact, a key component of the accelerated transformation is how can we leverage our business, our spending, our procurements of goods and services to help diversify and create meaningful jobs in the kingdom. So there are actually several initiatives in the Accelerate Transformation. One is called the Energy Service Sector, Efficient Energy Service Sector, which aims to create vibrant champions in the kingdom that provides goods and services and leveraging our spending, whether it is in the upstream, it is in the EPC, in the manufacturing, in the training, any major area where we do spending, we want to translate that into creation of national champions. In the past, we've done a very impressive track record of encouraging the development of businesses, but those tend to be small and medium businesses, not the ones that can emerge at a regional and hopefully global level. This time is the focus is on how can we help them achieve that quantum leap. And hopefully during the Accelerate Transformation journey, in 5 to 10 years, we will see the creation of truly regional champions that provides meaningful jobs that not only support Saudi Aramco, but also compete at regional and global levels. And we have the foundation to do that, and our teams are working diligent on that. You've touched on sharing the company best practices. We're looking at our business models and identifying areas where we had to develop the skills and capabilities and avail them in a business-like. Because if you do them as a charity, believe me, people will not appreciate them. But if you avail them to those who require them and are willing to invest in them and pay, it would be resulting in a meaningful transfer of knowledge. We're partnering with many of the vocational and academic institutions to help enhance the quality of the programs, to enhance the quality of the vocational graduates, and we're doing that with some of the government agencies, as well as our contractors who are establishing training facilities. We have an initiative called WAID, which aims to promote entrepreneurship and it provides end-to-end entrepreneurship services. I say end-to-end, meaning it provides training for entrepreneurs on how to set up and run a business. It provides idea networking opportunity. It helps them compete for business opportunities. And it also has a financing component of it where they're provided with loans and we can participate with them. So we're trying to do it in an intelligent way. We remain to be a commercial enterprise, yes, owned by the government, but we also have to stay focused on our commercial viability. We cannot do the job of others, but we need to do what makes good business sense for us from a corporate social responsibility standpoint. Striking that balance is not easy, believe me. We love to be everywhere and help everybody, but we also need to recognize at the end of the day, our shareholder will say, is the management team and the people of Aramco is my best choice to operate this precious resources or not. So striking the balance between the two is equally important.
Thank you very much. The next question is for Ms. Huda Al-Ghussan. As much as you focus on the young talent today, how would you build the reservoirs of future talent here in local schools?
Thank you for the question. This question relates to many of the initiatives and the programs that we are doing in our educational outreach initiatives. We recognize that there is a deficiency in the local schools and the areas of STEM disciplines, basically the sciences, technology, the engineering, and the math. And we have over the past few months introduced 5 major initiatives to improve the proficiency in these areas. Basically, we are working with the schools at all levels, by the way. These initiatives, some of them, they address elementary level, others they address secondary and primary levels. And they introduce new ways for both, by the way, teachers and students, new ways for delivering and understanding math and science and areas related to technology. What we're trying to do is to make sure that in the classroom, the focus is on the student, is on the learner, and not the teacher. And this follows an approach that we are using already in our training centers and have been tested and proved its success. And the approach is called the learner-centered approach, where the learner is in the center of the education program and of the lessons plan. The teacher will become a facilitator, helping the student or the learner absorb and ask questions and challenge the lessons that are being delivered. So this is one way that we are introducing a new teaching methodology and delivery in education. The other approaches we are using is integrating technology into the classroom using a blended learning approach where the students will have the opportunity to search certain problems, complex issues through the internet in order for themselves to come up with answers rather than the answers are delivered to them. In science and math, we're also introducing gaming techniques. And gaming techniques, as you all know, the young talent and those who have children in that age, they attract the attention of young talent more than papers and pencils and memorizing. So once they're involved in gaming, in any subject, regardless of the subject, geography, history, science, then the learning becomes permanent and has more impact with the students. So the initiatives, some of them are developed internally within our own organizations and others, other initiatives, we are using some of the leading universities to partner with and help us deliver them. I can cite examples of these initiatives. One is Blossoms, and Blossoms is done in partnership with MIT. Blossoms, by the way, stands for Blended Learning, Open Source Science and Math Studies. Blossoms provide videos that can be delivered in the classroom. These are 2 to 3 minutes videos introducing a problem, and then the teacher and the students will interpret that problem and try to come up with the solution. This is one initiative. It addresses mainly math and science. Another initiative is the Saudi RSI in collaboration with KAUST and the Center of Excellence in Education in Washington, D.C. Saudi RSI, by the way, stands for Research Science Institute. It targets 11th graders, those who are gifted and talented, and provide them with 1 month projects to work in KAUST during the summer. Each student will have a mentor, the professors and the scientists, to work on a certain problem or project related to science. Other initiatives include the math and science clubs that we are trying to implement in model schools around the kingdom. Fourth initiative is Mathletic. I don't know if you heard of Mathletics, and this is an online math program that targets different levels in the school, basically primary and secondary schools. It's an online program where the students, they can go on, teachers can put assignments in the program, and students can go on and collaborate with each other and enter a competition. And this is, by the way, an international competition. So those who score the highest, their name will go to the Hall of Fame in math worldwide. We have obtained 185,000 licenses and accounts, and we are now in the process of assigning these accounts to different schools. We have completed the Eastern Province. We also introduced it in the Western Province, and 2 weeks ago, the program was introduced in Riyadh. So these are examples of the initiatives and the programs that we have to improve the students' math, science, and English proficiencies in the high schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question actually goes to the panel. So each one of you can have his take on it. The question goes, when a company goes through a transformation, it unleashes its potential. What is your advice for the young professionals in this regard? What's in it for all of them, and why should they be excited?
I can take it. What's in it for them? I think the question should be, what's not in it for them? Because it is about the future, and they are the future. Transformation is a learning journey, but the young generation should see that in it, this is also their future. The transformation that we talk about in Saudi Aramco, and the company went through many transformations in the history. If you look at the company growing up from just a simple producing company into the master gas system, the merge with Samarek, expansion in the refinery globally, and entry into the chemical. This transformation is a bit different in the fact that it is much more proactive than earlier transformations. It is holistic, and it has a stronger sense of purpose. Huda talked about the national component. It's not only the national component. It has a global component, it has a national and a business component. It is about unleashing Saudi Aramco for the betterment of the kingdom and the world. A very strong inspirational purpose many think of an oil and gas business as a very old business that is not highly technical. And most of you by now probably already recognize that regardless of what your profession is, this company can stretch you to the fullest extent. So there are many aspects to the transformation for the young generation, whether it is at the professional level, the business level, or the social level. I think it brings in a great sense of purpose.
And I would like to address the part related to the young professionals. What advice do we give them to succeed during this era? And I always, when I speak with our trainees and our students, and they ask me this question, I always tell them to pay attention to the 5 C's. And these 5 C's, commitment, competence, collaboration, contribution, and character. Commitment basically shows a young professional from the early on in their career, they have to show discipline. They have to show respect to rules. And they have to be accountable to everything that they do and take ownership in their own business. Competence means that they have to work on developing their own skills and their own knowledge. They have to understand the business, understand it fully, and understand how it relates to other areas in the company. The third one, collaboration, basically talks about teamwork. No one can do it alone, and no one can know it alone. So without teaming with your colleagues, with the partners, with the stakeholders, it will be very difficult for anybody to progress. Of course, you can have the 3, but without having the 4C, then everything that you do becomes meaningless. And the 4th C is contribution. You need to show contribution, and you need to show that your existence in the workplace adds value to everything that the company is doing. And the 5th C is the most important C. If you have all the 4 C's without the 5th C, then you have no credibility, and that's character. Character means that young professionals, again, from early on in their career, they have to be trustworthy, they have to be honest, they have to show high standards for work ethics in order for their management and for their colleagues and for their partners to take them seriously. So as an advice to all young professionals, whether entering the workforce or they have been in the workforce for some time, to pay attention to these 5 C's. Thank you.
Well, it's a very good question, because every, I think, decade, the working environment changes economically, geographically, geopolitically, I mean, and demographically. And in Saudi Arabia, we have this process speeded up by maybe 10 times. We're seeing more women coming into the workplace, and we have to also consider the rules and regulations and legislation policy that will ensure equality in the workplace for women and for men. I think it's a very exciting time for us as in the history of Saudi Arabia, and definitely it's going to be very competitive. I have 2 children, and my oldest is 25, and I tell him, look, you know, girls are becoming more competitive, so don't take the fact that you're a boy or a man for granted, that you'll always get everything. And the other thing I tell him, you really need to have as many skills as possible, because it's such a diverse world. He studied architecture, and I believe that architecture is a key that opens a lot of doors. It did for me. And he's learning a lot now. He's working with MBA. So it's a very diverse time for my own private business and the new entity that I'm in. And the staff that are in the foundation, when I first joined, said to me, so Nadia, what are you going to do? They looked at me with horror because they thought I was going to turn their world upside down. And I said, look, I'm here to make your life easier and the work that you do more efficient. You're helping a lot of people around the world, but let's make that help more efficient. And they're a professional team, and that's really important. I know I can count on them, but they need direction. So leadership is very, very important. Creating those leaders is paramount. And I think from what I've seen from Aramco and what I know of Aramco, they have the tools and the resources. You've got your continuous education programs, you've got the upstream programs. So you really have recognized this a long time ago, that it's not enough to rely on the university education. There's a big gap between academia and employment here in Saudi Arabia, as if they're completely disconnected. And you, as a corporation, have recognized that. You're taking your young people by hand from I think, Thanawi, صح? And you're training them all the way through to make sure that they have the mindset and the culture, because it's not just about a qualification that you hang on the wall. It's mindset and culture that you are coming to work and you're going to be committed to this job, you're going to be loyal, and you're going to have credibility. I would like to add a couple of C's, by the way. Credibility and confidence. Now, it's really important to have confidence and believe in yourself, and I think that's our families can empower us, and also our employers can empower us. Since you take on board young people, it's your responsibility too to empower them. And since I've got the mic, I just want to say one more thing about your entrepreneurship program that you told me about, Wafaq, is it? WAD. I understand, I heard recently about WAD, but I understand that it's not open to Aramco employees, that you actually have to drop out of Aramco to take advantage of WAD. Is that true? All right, I have a suggestion to Aramco. I know you're bursting to answer that question. Look, from my experience, you have some amazing talent in Aramco. Don't lose them. Keep hold of them, partner them, take them by the hand, give them the opportunity to register their patents in their name. Schlumberger have what, 2,000 in the last few years? You've got 200? This is what I heard. I may be wrong. But you can encourage. We have intelligent minds in Saudi Arabia. We're not less intelligent than the rest of the world. In fact, some studies have indicated that there's some super intelligence in this country. Given half a chance, okay? So I suggest that Aramco take hold of the young talent that have the entrepreneurial spirit, because not everybody does, and say, instead of, we're not going to lose you, we're going to encourage you, we're going to partner you, and we're going to put you through the WIRED program and see what you do, because you're going to be exporting business prodigals out into the market, and we need them. Our middle class is disappearing and becoming poorer and poorer. Nobody wants to face that, but it's the truth. We have an educated elite that are getting poorer. Why? Because they don't have the opportunities to do business in a fair business environment. Take the lead, Aramco.
Just a clarification. While WAD is geared for outside, we equally have an innovation program that attempts to nurture entrepreneurial spirit in the organization. That one is more of an outreach program. Doesn't close the door, by the way, for us to create entrepreneurs from within. Many of the legacy entrepreneurs in the kingdom were created by Saudi Aramco without mentioning the family names, so it is not foreign to us.
Thanks all. The next question is a bit of an extension of the first question, and it's for Engineer Nadia. You have an impressive record by empowering women through education and training. How do you see the opportunities for Saudi women in the ATP, the Accelerated Transformation Program?
Well, I see that there's a great potential for Saudi women in the ATP. From my perspective, women are becoming a lot more aware of the business environment that they're coming into. And whenever I get the chance to address an audience of men and women, I always advise the women to have confidence and not to allow the pressure of their male counterparts to intimidate them. Because I know that's a side issue, but it can affect the development of women in the environment. I see men and women as a team, and I think that we need to work as teammates, not as men and women, but as teammates, colleagues, for the betterment of our society. And that's what drives me. It's my passion. I believe in Saudi Arabia, and that's why I stayed here. And I had opportunities to live abroad and work abroad, but I didn't want to run away because I believe that there are individuals in this country that actually can make a difference. And women have immense potential, especially with King Abdullah's latest, initiatives that he's sprung on us to the discontent of some parts of society. However, he has said women have the right to vote. Women have the right to be in the Majlis al-Shura. When I was interviewed after that, they said, aren't you disappointed that he said women don't have the right to drive? They have the right to drive. I said, no, I'm not disappointed. I wasn't expecting that because it's not the solution for King Abdullah to say women have the right to drive. It's the solution to empower us to say, you have the right to be in Majlis and Shura, and you have the right to be in the municipal elections and every other election, so that you can make a difference, you can change policy, you can change legislation. He wants the women to be proactive and take responsibility, and not just the women, society, mothers, fathers, everybody. The king isn't totalitarian. He cannot enforce a law like that on the people. They'd hate him. And that's his talent, and that's why the Saudi people love King Abdullah, because he's very wise. And I would invite all of you to consider how we can encourage the new women that will be in the Majlis al-Shura, inshallah, soon. I heard 50 ladies will be appointed, I'm not sure. How we can encourage them and support them to pass through policy that will help other women throughout Saudi Arabia. Let the people decide. Do they want women to drive? That's just one issue. And I think there are more important and pressing issues right now. For example, 10 years from now, is our oil capacity going to be saturated by local consumption and we won't have enough to export? This is a question that, I'm sorry, I'm a novice about petroleum, but I've been hearing. And I worry about it every day. And I think, I'm sure you guys in Aramco have the answer to that one. Well, I hope you do anyway. So, turning to alternative energies is very good. And I hope we explore solar energy, because the whole world is amazed that we haven't, when we've got this amazing potential right on our doorstep. And industry. If I were to say, can we encourage industry, please? Design propels industry. You are in the petroleum industry and the petrochemical industry and all the other things that relate to that. But what about the other industries that we can encourage in Saudi Arabia? Academia should be thinking about that. Universities should be thinking how they can create young inventors, young scientists, and the industrial sector should be thinking about putting strategies forward, not just worried about how they can lease a land. That's what I understand the Hay'at al-Sina'a. Their main concern is licensing for lands and how they lease them, instead of strategizing about what factories we should think about putting there, what industries we should have for the future. Thank you.
And just to comment, Nadia, with regards to the kingdom energy demand, we also looking at it, we call it E2K, energy to the kingdom. And we recognize that at the rate the demand is going, it is creating a very energy inefficient economy in the kingdom. It could, in the long run, compete with our ability to export. And therefore, this initiative aims to do too many things. One is address the issue on the demand side by looking at energy conservation, building code. You're in the Society of Engineers, and you know the effort that we're doing on the building code. Also looking at rationalizing the prices and having people act as an economic agents, because anything is free could be abused. Promoting renewable energy, an office complex not too far from here, produces 10 megawatts, satisfying the daily requirements of our office complex here at Saudi Aramco, another 5 megawatt in Riyadh at King Abdullah Center for Petroleum Studies. We're doing some research work also with KAUST on solar. So solar, wind, geothermal are all in the play as well, and the kingdom, you know, with the nuclear energy. So I think the kingdom is in the right direction with regards to the energy mix.
Thank you, Mr. Al-Othman. The next question is for Ms. Huda Al-Ghassan. How can you make sure that the ATP can transfer the knowledge from the experienced workforce to the young professionals?
I think I referred to the knowledge transfer program that we have for transferring knowledge, and this is going to play a major part in transferring the experience, not only for the ATP initiatives, but also in all jobs. The program now is applicable to the technical jobs and industrial jobs, and these are the operators, the technicians, and those who are in the field. This year we are opening it up for the professional jobs. Once we identify the skills shortage in certain jobs as a result of early retirement and an aging workforce, then the program will be going through all the departments that have these critical skills. Now, this is one, and the other thing that we are doing, not necessarily in training or in HR, but as a company, I think especially the ATP team, they are doing a marvelous job in the communication part, in talking about what has been accomplished, what is in the process of being implemented, providing periodic and frequent updates on all the initiatives. I think this makes everybody in the company feel part of the ATP, whether they are directly involved in it or not involved in it. I think if you go around now and ask anyone in the company, what does the ATP mean, you will find everyone jumping with answers, you know, and providing their own ideas of how they themselves are connected and can contribute to the ATP.
Thank you, Ms. Huda. Okay, the question is to Mr. Al-Othman. What are our plans to create future young scientists?
As I mentioned, a key component of the R&D strategy is to look at the way we attract and retain talent that are needed for our R&D focus areas. Number one, we are aspiring to attract the world icons in those fields of studies and hopefully provide the environment for our young scientists to be mentored by those. We will be looking at enriching the career progression ladder, but it needs to be merit-based. It needs to be earned. That doesn't mean it's just going to be a mechanical and an open-ended promotion that is time-based. Scientists are equally expected to deliver. This is a business company, and at the end of the day, we want to take research in a way where it translates into commercialization and enhancing the profitability of the business. Many organizations got trapped into rewarding scientists based on citation and patent. I would hope that we will go beyond that and get into commercialization and straight through application. So our scientists are not the ones that are doing basic science only, but the ones that have the ability to deliver. So if you ask me, what will we offer the scientists that a traditional research center wouldn't offer them, is the ability for them to see the results of their work at the job site in the field.
Thank you. The next question goes to the panel. And this is a curious person who wants to know, how did you find a balance between life and work, especially at the beginning of your career?
You know, anybody who tells you that you can achieve a work-life balance is lying. Huh? So this is nothing called life-work balance. Something has to give. But what you can do is at times when you are overloaded at work and you have to give 100% and you have to spend work long hours, then don't feel guilty about your family time or your personal time, because once there is a break, then you can give 100% to your family. So you have to compensate. Balance does not exist, but you can compensate. If you spend too much time at work, then during weekends, during holidays, or when there is a downtime or a down cycle at work, then you have to spend quality time with your family or even with yourselves and doing the things that you like to do. But if you if you think that you have a goal and that goal is going to achieve some kind of a balance, then you'll go crazy because it will not happen. And life will be very stressful because you will never achieve it. It will be very, very difficult to achieve it. So what you can do is just compensate. Spend as much time as required at work when it's needed, and at downtime, you spend quality time with your families, friends, community, and with yourself. And that's by the way, this is a personal opinion, but it works for me.
Yeah, I think that this was what was meant by the question. They want the experience of each panelist. So thank you, Ms. Huda. Go ahead.
Well, I'd like to add something to that. I agree with Huda. It's not easy at all to have a balance. But I would say work on your network with your family, your immediate family. Make sure that your extended family are very supportive, like your mother, the grandfather of the children, the grandmother. They're always useful to have in a disaster. So, and also, I think, for those of us who are fortunate to have a loving, supportive spouse. Now, they were giving awards about a week ago in Dubai to women of achievement. And by the way, I got one for the first time. I was so proud of myself for serving the sector of engineering and architecture. That's just a side thing. Thank you. But what I thought about at that award ceremony is the invisible person behind the success, the other half, the husband, because they were all ladies up there on the podium, and I think they were all married. So they must have supportive husbands, because the husband plays a really important role. And I'm sure the wife plays an even more important role to the success of her husband. So if one partner has stellar success, then you have to look at home at the other person who's taking all the pressure, keeping that person, pushing him in the fast lane so that he or she can succeed. So teamwork is really important. Now, if you're a bachelor or a bachelorette, don't despair, because sometimes even if you're divorced and you're raising a family by yourself, I mean, I've had that experience, and it's absolutely awful. When the school is calling you every 5 minutes. Oh, did you know Omar was really bad today in school? And you're in the middle of a meeting, and you're between flights because you're going to a conference in America, in Atlanta. That happened to me. Yes, it's absolutely crazy. I think you have to have priorities, and you have to be realistic. There are some things that you're going to be absolutely brilliant at, and some things that you're not. And forgive yourself. But your children, don't neglect them. I think you can neglect everything but your children. Because you need to, even if you have a quality hour every day with your kid, it's enough. Or half an hour. Just tell them something nice and sweet and reinforce their confidence. They just need to hear that. Thanks.
I think Huda and Nadia have highlighted very important things, and it is all about competing objectives, and striking the balance is not easy. Anybody who tells you that they have a totally balanced life could be overlooking something. The key in my mind is to be mindful about it, is to always ask yourself, am I still maintaining the right attention to all the right priorities, and be aware about it and address them. And today you will address your balance with regards to your health. Tomorrow it is to your kids. The day after tomorrow it is to your spouse. So be mindful of it. You could develop a blindsiders, especially for the unknown soldiers, the other half that Nadia talked about, or your sisters, or your brothers, or your extended family, or your society. The key thing is know your priority. Have a sense of purpose. Why are you doing all this? Especially to you young. I know many of the young really burn themselves saying, when do I get out of the PDP program, or when do I get the promotion, and compete with each other. And if you really don't ask yourself at the end of the day, am I learning? Am I commanding respect on a technical basis and on a character basis? The C's that Huda talked about. Believe me, without that, you can achieve anything you want. But if you don't achieve the recognition and the competence and the respect, at the end of the day, you haven't achieved it. If you don't do that with your colleagues, you don't do that with your family and with your society, it's a waste. So don't burn yourself, and certainly don't burn it from both ends.
Well, thank you all. We have time for one quick question, and this question is kind of interesting. It goes like, I think I will address it to you, Mr. Al-Othman. What are the key factors for this transformation to succeed, and what would cause it to fail?
I must say, and we've had many discussions about this, all the key ingredients for success are there. That was a product of very rigorous work, 18 months worth of work involving many parts of the organization, full engagement, commitment from the top. It has a very aspirational sense of purpose, as I mentioned, for the organization, for the society, for our industry. We also recognize that in addition to all the deliveries on there, we also have to change. And we said, if you recognize of the 14, there are several that looks at changing the way we do business. So if you ask me what are the critical success factors for it, I would say a much more global and robust leadership and talent, faster decision-making process, and stronger accountability. And they are all, by the way, embedded in some of the initiatives that we're looking at. And what would cause it to fail is if we don't succeed in cultivating a very robust global talent and leadership, if we stumble into enhancing the quality and the sharpness in which we do decision-making and accountability. And we need to be candid with ourselves. If things don't work out, redirect and move on. If we give ourselves the false impression that things are going well and just, applaud for ourselves, we will fall in the trap.
Thank you very much. I think this brings us towards the end, and on behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to thank our distinguished panelists and thank the audience for their participation. And may I ask Dr. Mohammed Al-Qahtani, Vice President of Petroleum Engineering and Development, to please come to the stage and provide our distinguished panelists with a token of appreciation. And I will also ask Dr. Abdul Wahab, the Symposium Chairman, and the co-chairman of Organizing Committee, Badr Al-Rumayh, to come to the stage for a group photo.